Welcome to our LTN Sports, and we are grateful to have our in regular panel of Aduda and myself. Aduda, just a short introduction for this show.
Thank you very much, Herbert. I'm called Aduda Lordvic. We are part of this madness called football. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our first question today, what's your general assessment of Kenya's readiness to host CHAN competition?
Well, I think at the end of the day, CAF gave us a clean bill of health, uh, probably having met the minimum requirements. And we are now waiting for the tournament to kick off. Yeah. Unlike about a month ago when we were quite uncertain, because at some point we were being told that the inspectors had not been convinced with how the playing surfaces were, and that was going to pose a big challenge. But at least with what eventually happened, with the clearance from the CAF inspectors, we are good to go.
Oh, what are the critical gaps in terms of infrastructures, technical funding that remain in CHAN preparations, according to your opinion?
Well, with regards to infrastructure, I believe we have too much venues already cleared. That is Kasarani and
Nyayo?
Nyayo. And of course, we also have, the respective training grounds already cleared. So that will not pose a challenge, I gather. Yeah, yeah. So what we now are waiting for is to get, the tournament fully advertised. I believe that the appointment of the marketing and communications director is a step towards ensuring that the tournament will be now fully marketed and advertised ahead of the kickoff come 2nd or come 3rd of August.
On the tournament marketing and PR, what's your take on the current administration in the preparation, such that is the current administration put in place a comprehensive roadmap for the CHAN?
It is from the foregoing, I am not so sure, because seemingly there looks like there are a bit of gaps, nothing public has, been communicated, to the Kenyan fans. In as much as we have had opportunity to be able to, communicate, the communications from the federation have not really come out to tell us exactly how the tournament will be run. But as I did mention, I believe that the appointment of the director will shed more light into what will happen moving forward.
Do you feel the local clubs and players, fans alike, are being adequately involved or prepared for the CHAN tournament?
Well, the players, I believe the players that have been selected are probably the best from the local league or from the clubs, local clubs. And the fans, I don't know, it's not really coming out that the Kenyan fans are gearing towards, the kind of setting up the kind of mood that will see them throng the stadiums whenever the national team is going to play, and also to attend the other matches which will be played, but where the national team will not be played. The clubs, well, the only two clubs who probably will be direct beneficiaries of CHAN with regards to the infrastructure, Ulinzi and police. Because, I mean, their home grounds have been spruced up to a particular level commensurate to hosting of national and international matches, yeah, during the CAF interclub championships, because so long as they have been designated and spruced up to be training grounds, yeah, for the national teams, I believe they will be in a position to hold the preliminary matches of the interclub, CAF interclub championships.
Lord, having been a sports administrator for quite so long, what's your suggestions on fans' engagements towards the CHAN competitions?
There ought to be a run-up to the fan engagement. One, what I have seen in other countries which I have had the opportunity to visit, or some of the continental tournaments in the course of my being in the administration, both at the federation and at the club level, there are concerted efforts, usually by the respective, national football fans associations, who come up with different incentives, roadmaps, and clear, directions on what to do. For instance, are we only going to have fans from Nairobi coming to watch or cheer the national team? What incentives are we having as a federation, yeah, or as a ministry, as a government, towards ensuring that our fans, yeah, find it easy, yeah, to throng the stadium, not only when the national team, our national team plays, but also when these other national teams are also playing. I am yet to see that concerted efforts emanating from the local organizing committee, the national, local federation, as well as the government. In as much as we have also come up with engaging with KBC as an FTA. I mean, that will only cater for the fans who will be unable, to make it to Nairobi to be able to watch these matches, on KBC. But I feel that a lot more ought to have been done towards ensuring that there is maximum fan engagement towards thronging the stadiums, lest we might end up having some of these matches being played to the empty stadium, the way I am seeing things happening.
As a leader and a football administrator, again, coming from the president who pleaded, and the CS for Interior, who pleaded that fans need to behave during the CHAN championships. What's your take on that?
Well, it is important that fans behave, and not just fans. I believe that it is an opportunity. I would draw examples from, say, Cote d'Ivoire at some point, and even Liberia, which at some point they had civil strifes, they had civil wars, yeah. But when it came to football, all those adversaries had to lay down their firearms for the sake of, coming together to rally behind their respective national teams. We are having visitors, from all over. We will have visitors from Kenya, from other towns in Kenya. We will have visitors from those countries that are going to participate in our group. We are going to have even scouts. Everybody is going to be around. So it is an opportune time for all the people who have been agitating for change in respective spheres, particularly the political, spheres, to tone down and behave. We do not want to see, the kind of, demonstrations that have been rocking the town, the country, in the foreseeable past, ahead of what is going to be a memorable, tournament coming to Kenya, given that we have missed out on hosting such a tournament of such magnitude twice. You remember the first time we were supposed to have hosted the AFCON in 1996, but because the government then did not have the goodwill, we also missed out in hosting CHAN in 2018. The same thing. But I believe that this time round, the government has exhibited, full-time, commitment, and we should also now take our cue from the commitment that the government has shown towards the preparations and eventual, hosting of the tournament, to also behave as fans. We do not just want the fans, the football fans. We want everybody in the country, to stay calm, and come out in large numbers to rally behind, because football is meant to rally. We can use football, the national team during this particular tournament, to bring the country together, because as things stand, there is a possibility of the country being fragile. That is the truth. But can we rise up and rally behind, our common purpose, which is going to cheer or support our national team? Because the national team, is the epitome of unity in the country.
Oh, insightful. What's your evaluation of the current FKF leadership performance in terms of governance and transparency?
Well, it's too early also. It's a bit of about 7 months down the line. They have been trying to do one or two things. I believe that it is an opportunity for them to show that there's something new. What their slogan was a fresh start. I really don't understand what that start really meant, because football is football. The governance structures are dictated by the FKF constitution, the FIFA statutes, and the CAF statutes. Besides that, in the normal running of the local leagues, everything is governed by the rules and regulations governing Kenyan football. So anything outside the dictates of all those governance structures is basically throwing the little that has been achieved out of the window. So I was a bit disappointed that within this short period of time, quite a number of the personnel at the Federation have been shown the door. From where I sit, having been a Secretary General of the Federation, I think that was not the wisest of ideas, because initially we used to have the position of the Secretary General and the Treasurer as elective positions. But because of the changes in terms of the politics, FIFA decided that the two positions were now no longer going to be elective, they were going to be appointive. So that in as much as the politicians come or change during the end of the terms, the actual operations at the federation, which is under the directorship of the chief executive, who is the general secretary, should continue uninterrupted. FIFA and CAF have invested, yeah, in trainings. There are different training modules year in, year out, yeah, where the general secretaries and the finance directors or the technical directors, all these people have gone through, respective governance and administrative courses, such that an abrupt, stoppage like what has happened, I believe is going to have a big blow with respect to how, not that whoever is been appointed, yeah, lacks the ability, but there are no specific changes, yeah, that they would bring other than to use, they ought to have used the people who are there, who are basically on contracts. So even if you are appointing new guys, you need to appoint people to understudy, yeah, the people who have had the opportunity to be trained by FIFA and CAF, because without that, definitely we might have challenges moving forward.
Oh, all right. What reforms do you believe FKF urgently needs to undertake to professionalize the game locally?
Well, FKF, according to the objectives, are supposed to be in charge of football development in the country. Now, football development has different segments. We ought to have talent identification. We ought to have programs that will nurture, yeah, the talents that shall have been identified. We ought to have programs that will develop, yeah, these talents that shall have been identified, nurtured. Then we develop them into, potential seasoned, players who will eventually turn out for our clubs, yeah. And besides that, they would be developed into full-time, football professionals. Yeah. Football is business now, and you realize that if we train, if we identify, yeah, why am I having emphasis on talent identification? The current problem that we have today is that our national team, our CHAN national team, has challenges with respect to strikers. So how are we going to perform if we do not have the quality? Yeah. So these are some of the reasons why the federation should not go in for a quick fix. I was taken aback, yeah, that as a solution, we decided now that we are calling Masood Juma. We know that Masood has not been playing locally, yeah, for the better part of his career. All right. Now, CHAN is meant for the local players. Now, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days, yeah, with the local players with whom he has not been playing alongside, is equally going to pose challenges, with our preparations. So these are the areas that the federation should look at. We have had this tendency for quick fixes for a long time. I believe for us to move forward, we need to take time and go back to the drawing board so that we can take each step to build football in Kenya for posterity, not for purposes of winning tournaments, CHAN, SECAFA, or the qualifications.
Lord, are there repercussions that needs to be taken against the players who are called for the national team and declined?
Well, the regulations are explicit that you cannot, unless you are injured, that you cannot snub a national team call-up. The two players in question, that is Shuma and Osoro, they got greener pastures. Yeah, they have moved to Power Dynamos in Zambia. But I think somebody should have taken his time to tell the boys that it was important. It was a platform for them, yeah, besides, representing the country. I have had a similar situation, I think, way back in 2016, when I had gone to Rwanda to get Jack Tuisenge. Jack Tuisenge, at that particular time or duration, was playing for Amavubi, the local team. They were hosting CHAN in 2016, and Jack was the captain of their national team. We did agree on the terms, but we were also not lost on the fact that it was important for him to turn out for his national team. So the agreement was we sign a pre-contract, let him represent the national team, and at whatever stage that the national team was knocked out, if they went through to the finals, we could have waited until at the end of the CHAN. If they were knocked out like they did, they were knocked out at the quarterfinals, the agreement between Gor, which I was representing as a CEO then, with both police and the Rwanda national team, was to get the player a ticket for the next flight. And that is exactly what happened. So I would have expected the people in charge now, yeah, to have engaged with the Power Dynamos and the boys for purposes of the representation of the national team, yeah, to ensure, because after all, the leagues are not yet on. What we have is a pre-season. Many clubs are already, like I believe Power Dynamos have gone to South Africa for their pre-season, So with the boys in the national team and participating in CHAN, would have also given them an opportunity, yeah, to be ready in terms of physical fitness, because that is basically the essence of the pre-season camps. So both the boys, probably their agents, the federation and the Power Dynamos ought to have looked at it, yeah, from a bigger perspective. I'm aware that I read somewhere that one of the players also had got a chance to move to Durban City, that is Alfonso Mija, but he chose to remain and represent the country if he made, or he will make, the final list. And Durban City had a choice, either to wait for him or to get somebody else, right? So that is what the regulations dictate. And I don't want to be harsh, but basically that is what the regulations dictate. Somebody somewhere did not really think through that. Because we have a problem now with the Bandari striker also under injury. I hear about Jaber is also not 100% fit. So let's see. Because Masood Juma, I don't know whether his ITC has already been returned to Kenya. But if you look at say Article 3 point, I think 8 or 3 point something, yeah, of the regulations governing CHAN, a player ought to be registered, yeah, and playing in the domestic league. Masood Juma has not been playing in the domestic league. So anyway, I don't know how whoever made that decision is going to go over it.
Do you think FKF, having been the current FKF leadership, having been there in like 7 months, are doing enough to attract sponsorships?
Well, I could be slow on reacting to that because they are not talking. So I really don't know whether they are already in top gear, trying to get sponsorships on board. Save for what probably was in the social media about a month or 2 months ago, that they were eyeing a 2 billion sponsorship deal from Sport Pesa, which, if indeed they are trying to pursue that, I would say that is the worst kind of arrangement that anybody can come up with. 2 billion shillings for 15 years is a mockery of what, unless they are desperate, because if you're looking at 15 billion for 15 years, and 60% goes to the clubs and 40% goes to the federation. Now, the 60% basically translates to 1.2 billion. The 40% translates to 800 million. So what are you going to do with 1.2 billion for 15 years? Or what are you going to do with 800 million for 15 years? Whoever is trying to go on with such kind of discussions should think twice. And the clubs should also stop being desperate, because my simple calculation would mean that each club would probably get about 4.5 million per year. Now, let me use the example of the club that I know best, which is Gor Mahia. If we are running about a wage bill of about 5.5 million per month, so, and we sign a deal where we are going to get 4.5 million per year. So what are we doing? Yeah? We'd rather engage, pack, our product properly. We already have a broadcasting partner in the name and style of Azam. Let us see how best we can maximize on the rights, because it will be foolhardy in case all the 8 components of the rights were given out to Azam. We need, or the club leadership, the clubs ought to find out if in an event that they signed off their rights, all the 8 components to Azam, then that was the worst mistake they ever did. In an event that they only signed live broadcasting of the Premier League matches, then we ought to look at how best are we able, to exploit the other components that have also not been signed off. Because those are the areas through which we can be able to get more money into the league. Now, if we have more money into the league, it basically means that the clubs will hire quality players and will not go for 7, 6, 8 months without paying the players their salaries and allowances, as is currently happening with some of the clubs participating in the Premier League. And on the same note, I would also urge the federation to ensure that they implement the club licensing to the letter. Because how do you issue licenses to clubs who you know very well, year in, year out, continue having overdue payables, to both their players and their coaches? What are they? How do you clear them with respect to the financial obligations of these clubs? So it is important that the federation or the first instance body, under the federation, should be able to insist that all the parameters contained in the club licensing are met, fully met by all the clubs participating in the Premier League. Failure to which, then the regulations are explicit, relegate them to the second, the second lower tier league, following the Premier League.
Having mentioned the club licensing criteria, I believe that not so many clubs would be able to fully participate in the next season FKF Premier League. What's your advice to the clubs to ensure that they be sustainable when it comes to the payments, when it comes to the club licensing criteria like sporting, like infrastructure, like personnel, like you've talked about finance, and legal comes next year?
Well, come next year, there's one thing that bedevils Kenyan football, particularly the Elite League. 3/4 of these clubs are quasi-government owned. Quasi-government owned. By that I mean that they are either, like now, Ulinzi, Police, APS, Bomet, or, parastatals like Posta, KPA, they mention them, right? Now, the core business of these quasi-government institutions is not football, and that is why even the people who are in charge of administration of these clubs are personnel in the respective, establishments, Now, that is against the expectations of the licensing criteria, you see. So, unless that happens, I would rather that, because there are leagues in Africa where we have as low as 12 teams, okay? So, there's nothing that we fear as a federation, because like from the 3rd of next month, our underbelly is going to be exposed, because we are going to present a national team comprising of the local-based players. That is where we are going to compare ourselves, whether our league is as vibrant as probably the Moroccan league, the Zambian league, the Angolan league, the DRC and the rest. So for us to succeed, we must be able to bite the bullet. We must be able not to compromise, on certain requirements, criteria that has been, because that is the only way that we will professionalize, the management and administration of football in the country, beginning from the Premier League, coming down to the lower leagues.
From your experience as a seasoned football administrator, what structural governance challenges continue to hinder the progress at the federation?
I think that there is need, and I thought from where I sit, that the first step would have been the amendment of the FKF Constitution. There are certain salient gaps in that Constitution that makes the governance of football in the country lag behind. Okay? 2, there are certain gaps in that constitution that does not create, a progressive, setup, yeah? Because, for instance, up till now, 7 months down the line, there are certain branches where elections have not taken place, right? Out of all the sub-branches, there has been no elections, whereas the Constitution is very explicit that you attain leadership in the federation either through an election or through an appointment. Now, an appointment is restricted to the working committees or the standing committees. The elections are meant for all the administrative positions. The National Executive Committee, the branch leadership, and the sub-branch leadership. But what are we seeing today? We are seeing there are complaints. Some of the guys who talk to some of us continue complaining, yeah, that certain individuals have been appointed. They are cronies. They have been appointed, well, to be able to manage football at the sub-branches. Now, going back to what we said earlier in the program, the sub-branches is the grassroots. Now, if we get it wrong from the grassroots, definitely we will not be able to build it as it goes up. There must be some semblance of order, yeah? So, I believe that the first order of business, given that the current leadership came on a platform of a fresh start, would have been to look at, the FKF constitution and amend certain sections or bring into the constitution other aspects that would be able to be used to effectively govern, the operations of the federation.